Um, I would like our next presenter to go ahead and to put up her poster. Dr. Gwynn, would you like to introduce our next presenter?
I would love to. I'm not sure why I am blank. Can you guys see me?
I don't see you.
Huh. I wonder why it's not coming up. It's okay. I'm not the person you need to see. You need to see Uzo. You don't necessarily need to see me. But hi, everyone. I think this is very odd. I was using it last night for an IPE, but it's not coming through. That's all right. We won't worry about it. Welcome, everybody. I'm sorry I've missed this morning. I'm up in Sacramento working with our FMP and their intensives. And so I have my moment here to introduce Uzo and listen to her. Uzo and I stepped in as Uzo's chair when her original chair, Dr. Van, went on sabbatical. But it was a very, very good match. Uzo and I have talked about how communal expressive arts and movement and art are so vital in healing of stress over the years. We have worked together as faculty. And I've always enjoyed that work with Uzo. And so she's done a phenomenal job. And I just see this as a future process here and a future path. And I'm just really so proud of you. So proud of you. I'm bowing back, even though you can't see me. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Uzo to start. And I will go off and mute.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gwen. What a wonderful introduction. Hello, everybody. My name is Nwankpa, and I will be sharing with you today my project, Communal Healing through Expressive Arts, an approach to addressing multidimensional healing for African American and Black healthcare workers during a pandemic. I'd like to actually take a moment to ask everybody in this room to notice how you feel in your body. Take a moment to notice any tightness around your neck or perhaps your jaw, maybe your shoulders, your lower back. When was the last time you took a moment to notice what was happening in your body? And then I'd like to invite you to take a few deep breaths as I move through this presentation, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Perhaps the biggest breath of the day. In order to understand who I am and why I chose this work path, you might need to understand where I have come from. Afam bụ Ụzọamaka Nwankpa. Ndị mmụọ mụ bụ Ụzọamaka na Ebelechukwu. Ndị mmụọ fa bụ Nwovuakụ, Nwarashi ọnụ, Chidiobu na Mmadụ Abụchi. Ndị mmụọ ha bụ Udu na Ugoọna. Ndị mmụọ ya bụ Akwụdịmanụ. Abụ m onye ogbugbu agụ, Eze Ọnya, Iwolo, Eziagụ, Enugu. My name is Ụzọamaka Nwankpa, daughter of Ụzọamaka and Ebelechukwu, and I just introduced my ancestors in the room as it is a practice of the Igbo people. I am Igbo. I'm an Igbo woman. Grew up in Nigeria, West Africa, migrated to the United States at age 15. I identify as Black. I identify as Pan-Africanist. I currently reside in the unceded Ohlone territory, also known as the San Francisco Bay Area. I am a community and public health nurse. I also am a faculty at Samuel Merritt University. teaching community and public health nursing to current and future nurses. And I am excited about remembering, restoring, and reviving the ancient African indigenous healing practices. Before we go in, I'd like to begin with acknowledgements. I started off with my ancestors, my parents, Justina and Emmanuel, who are here today, my siblings, Ndidi Nneka, Obina Nachoka, the rest of the Nwankpa Ali family, my close friends and beloveds. Thank you so much for your support and guidance that you've provided me. My DNP committee, Dr. Gwen, who you just heard from, my DNP chair, who has just filled me with so much ease in this process and was incredible at stepping in last minute to support me during the transitional process when my previous chair had to go on sabbatical. My practice chair, Dr. Daktari Shari Hicks. Thank you, Daktari, for saving the day, bringing the magic, the wisdom, the ashe, the resources, the practice, the depth and the lightness, the multiple edits, the joy in the process, making the impossible possible. Thank you. Kathy Kim, thank you so much. You were the one that gave me the permission to even know that expressive arts was possible in the field of nursing. I thank the participants of this project, my project assistant, Lillian Khan, Samuel Merritt University College of Nursing, Dr. Wyckoff, for being the professor all through the entire DNP project and supporting me through this journey. Dr. Ojia Cruz Banks, Lila Aisha Jones, Danielle Drake for offering the Black spirituality and creativity scale that I will talk about. Wanjira Ely, Dr. Donna Erdiena, Dr. Adrian Martinez Hollingsworth, you all, and so many names that I couldn't name right now, made this process possible for me, so I thank you. As an indigenous woman of Igbo land in Nigeria, West Africa, I've always been interested in the ways that allow my cultural practice to be present in my current living situation. As an immigrant, I grew curious about the power of ancient healing practices, how they can be integrated into Western concepts, and the possibilities of integrating ancient knowledge with innovative health practices. This curiosity has fueled my passion for facilitating indigenous-inspired arts practices in various communities across the US and also around the globe. This includes facilitating spaces where dance, music, rhythms, songs, movements from various African regions are used as they are intended, such as for healing. My own life experiences have been enhanced through the arts, especially music and dance. And I primarily use these practices to elevate my mood, to integrate my mind, body, and spirit, as well as connect with community to build my social health in a foreign land. So I'd like to walk you through this process of what I did. It was a very complex process that required so many moving pieces. This was happening all during the 2020 pandemic. And so we were all here, we were all there. The pandemic in 2020 was hard on our collective nervous system. Healthcare providers had an even harder time helping to keep people alive, avoiding from getting sick ourselves. And most of all, there's been a ton of grief these past couple of years. So the intent of this project for me was to create a safe space to pilot a program, an African-centered expressive arts program that promotes cultural empowerment and deepens social bonds amongst Black and African-American healthcare providers. The aim was to create a space where folks can process collective grief and also race-based stress. Now, during these times, it was already hard enough to deal with the stress of the pandemic. But every time I turned on the television, every time I opened up my phone into social media, every time I walked out of the house, I was quickly reminded that Black lives mattered. The signs were everywhere. The movement for Black lives was there was an uprise during that year. So somehow they felt like there was an added pressure, an added stress amongst Black healthcare providers. So I felt like it was my duty to address well-being among this particular group of folks. Who wants a burnt out provider caring for them, right? So my process included assessing the needs, identifying this project, coming up with the context, assembling my committee, creating the prospectus, executing, and then evaluating. So a bit of the research, there's so many moving pieces like I mentioned. One is burnout, right? I discovered in my research that burnout remains a threat to delivering quality care, especially in racial and ethnic communities. It can include heightened depersonalization, which is like the loss of empathy, depression, anxiety, and increased provider errors. And then when we start to look at race-based stress, I began to look at what happens, particularly when people are faced with the toxic and chronic stress of racism. In 2021, the American Medical Association surveyed 42 healthcare organizations. The name of this survey is the AMA Coping with COVID-19 for Caregivers survey. And it was no surprise that they discovered that 43% of us healthcare workers are suffering from work overload, and about 50% of us are burnt out. Now, when you add race to that, 70% of Black and 74% of Latinx workers are experiencing fear during this time. I also discovered that in order to address burnout and well-being, we need to be culturally competent. So Dr. Joy DeGroy, who is the author of post-traumatic stress syndrome, talks about how these programs really need to be culturally appropriate. So African Indigenous healing is holistic in its approach and embodies the collective wisdom of Indigenous knowledge, which is often passed down orally. So my question now is, if healthcare providers engage in these sessions, will their perceived well-being change? What would happen to their perceived well-being? And how did I do that? Well, first I needed to figure out what framework to use. And I combined a few of them. I started with Gene Watson's unitary caring science, which is basically welcoming discovery and honoring humanity, including metaphysical phenomena such as spirit, sacred love, consciousness, and caring. That might seem like, whoa! However, the unitary caring science allows us to bring in spirit when it's often omitted in nursing and in healthcare. Then I also brought in the integrative medicine model, which allows for the patient and the practitioner, myself, to be partners in the healing. As I mentioned earlier, this was also about me. This was also about the stress that I was experiencing. I wanted to create a space where I too could go, my colleagues could go, and feel that we could engage with each other. I also use the nursing process. So for those who are not nurses, we have a process in which we use to operate and practice in the field. We first engage in an assessment, and then we come up with a diagnosis, we plan, we implement, and then we evaluate. So using all of these pieces together, it all comes into what I'm calling the richer model. And I will explain what the richer model means in a second. But between the unitary caring science, the integrative medicine model, and the nursing process, if you can imagine putting it all into a funnel and spitting out the richer model, which is the framework that I use to engage the participants in this process. So what exactly did I do? I created 4 sessions for 90 minutes. It was weekly. It was in July of 2021. We needed a bunch of people to engage in this process. So I checked in with my DNP committee. We set a plan. I created some marketing materials. I sent it out to the network through Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and email. attempting to recruit as many healthcare workers who identified as Black, were over 18, and admitted to have experienced some sort of race-based stress in their practice. And so lo and behold, we had about 53 people who responded right away because it was on the internet. It was 56 people who responded to the initial call. And so then I needed to figure out how to create a funnel system to get folks going. So through this funnel system, folks were able to consent to participate, receive emails, and then they started the first week in July. By week 1, folks gathered around in the Zoom room. We had about 12 people that eventually showed up and completed the entire process. And about 6 to 8 average would come every week. So there was a bit of a discrepancy between the 56 and the 12 that completed the project. Each week was designed to focus on a well-being pillar. I used 4 well-being pillars: physical, emotional, spiritual, and social. Those were the 4 well-being pillars I focused on each week. Each week, participants would arrive, they'd complete a pre-survey that assessed how they felt in the moment, such as what we did at the beginning of this session. And then we will engage in some interaction, some integration. So the richer model is guiding me through this process. First, reflection. The R stands for reflection. And then we go into integration. We integrate the mind, body, and spirit by using centering activities, breathing activities, slight movement activities. And then we would go into the CH of the richer model, which is choreography. And choreography is basically whatever the arts expression is designed for the day that is tackling that well-being pillar. So for physical well-being, we did a lot of dances across Africa. And for social well-being, we played a lot of games that got us to know each other and process, such as journaling and creating art. All right. And so the participants that participated in this session ranged from across the world. Actually, we had folks that came in from Nigeria. We had folks from Alabama, North Carolina, the San Francisco Bay Area, and we had and they had a little bit of college, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's, and doctorate degrees, but we didn't have anybody with less than a high school diploma. So that sort of painted a picture around the reach and how far I was able to reach a wide range of healthcare providers. So once folks engaged in the choreography activity, the E stands for evaluation. This is where I'm evaluating for safety, so safety tips. If a participant reveals something that was alarming psychologically, then it would alert me and my program assistant, who was there on the calls with me every week, to reach out and make some referrals. And then at the end of each session, we had reflection at the end, where the participants got to express how they felt. And so what did we discover? What did I discover after these 4 sessions? I discovered that most of the folks were really, really excited to be a part of this process. As you can see on the poster, before the session, there were lots of folks that expressed that they were ready and grateful, but you can see the largest words are tired and excited, and there's some unsure, there's some tight, confused, burnt out. And then after the session, we have more, joyful, powerful, happy, calm, alive, connected, uplifted. So these were ways in which I feel like each week it was clear that folks were experiencing some sort of well-being relief after 90 minutes. Some comments also include, this session has motivated me to make more time for creativity. Some other person said, I love seeing Black people create and smile. I love the depths by which we're able to explore today. Some other person says, my thinking process is clearer. Another one says, this session has allowed me to connect with my current state, and it's given me the energy to continue with the day. So there are some comments that are alerting to the importance of even having this at like 12 noon in the middle of the day in the Bay Area. And for some folks, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon if you were on the East Coast. And if you were in West Africa, it was nighttime. But for many of them, it was that they felt so much better. Some lessons that I learned was that there was a discrepancy between the number of people who registered online in comparison to those who participated. And that the intervention, although it was originally meant to be in person, the pandemic created an entire, change of plans. And so we had to come up with this last minute and try to reach as many people as possible, in a very short amount of time. At the beginning of this session, when folks were enrolling, I offered what was called the Black Spirituality and Creativity Scale. This is a tool that is informative in understanding the baseline of participants before engaging in the activities. This scale is a 15-point scale developed by Dr. Danielle Drake, who's also a professor of expressive arts. And this particular scale is developed to measure the attitudes and beliefs of members of the Black community regarding spiritual creativity towards and associated with cultural empowerment. So as I mentioned, there are multiple moving pieces around here. Are we looking at empowerment? Are we looking at burnout? Are we looking at spirituality and creativity? And are we looking at ways in which they all connect? So this for me means there's so much more work that needs to be done here. I would love to see this done at a massive scale. I'd love to see multiple groups going globally. I'd love to see us use the well-being index, or perhaps the World Health Organization has a quality of life scale that I would love to use to look at quality of life over an extended period of time. I also would like to look at ways in which to funnel through this so that we don't lose so many participants by the end. Looking at a thematic analysis of the comments will be helpful as well to draw on some themes, and also to collaborate with some other healthcare and well-being, some other healthcare providers to deepen the process, to learn a bit more about what the needs are for us by us. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the Black cultural and spiritual creativity scale. The intention originally was for me to use this pre and post the sessions. But what I discovered was that there wasn't much of a difference between the results pre and post. We just didn't have enough numbers. So what I decided to do was look at the 3 subscales of this scale. There are 3 subscales. The first subscale is looking at spiritually creative experience of Blackness. The second subscale is spiritual connection and creative transformation. And the third subscale is spiritually creative collective responsibility. So the first one, once folks completed this tool, I was able to look at the data, and it revealed that 90% of the respondents strongly agreed that rhythm and soul are connected to their spiritual sense of being Black. 78% strongly agreed that their sense of creativity was spiritually connected to their experience of being Black. This informed actually the kind of intervention that, as far as expressive arts, the choreography piece in the Richer model, this informed it quite a bit, because now I'm understanding that creativity and spirituality are connected. And so we could create activities that brought the two together. We also discovered that 88% of the respondents strongly agreed with this statement. The Spirit flows through me when I'm creating art, music, dance, and poetry. So we used all of those in the session. We used music, we used art, we used poetry, and we used dance. More than 82% of the total respondents strongly wanted to touch the spirit of those with whom they share it with. And this was true in some of the comments that they were sharing at the end, was that we somehow became a close unit. You know, we felt things about each other, whereas we were strangers, right, the first day. The last subscale is really interesting. 52% of the respondents strongly agree that they believe creative Black people engage in social justice activities as a spiritual act. And so, upon conversation with the folks who had the privilege and the time and even the amount of energy to join the sessions, stated that self-care and communal care was a radical act. It was a radical act for Black people to care for themselves. And so that means that this needs to be a priority in our healthcare system. As a community and public health nurse, understanding what people who are racial minorities, African Americans, and folks who are subject to systems of oppression, we are the ones that need to prioritize the care. And that it could, and that it doesn't need to be instituted in a particular healthcare institution, is that we can create spaces outside of healthcare institutions for ourselves, by ourselves, in ways that is culturally supportive. So in conclusion, I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I need to be with others like me to heal. I learned that participants felt pleasure in experiencing these expressive arts with each other. I learned that mindfulness is necessary when facilitating creative healing spaces. And then I learned that just because you identify as Black or an African descendant does not mean that you are comfortable with some of the cultural practices, and perhaps it's a space where that sharing can take place. So thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I'm open to any questions you might have.
Uzo, that was an amazing presentation. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you have implemented and all the hard work as you have continued to move forward with the process. I would like to ask our other members, our faculty and peers, to open up questions to Uzo, please, regarding her project. And I would especially like to thank all of Uzo's family and friends for being here to celebrate with us in her journey and success.
Ooh. People are clapping for you, Uzo. I am clapping for you. I see, Cynthia, you have your hand up.
Oh, I don't want to be on screen. Okay, unmuted. Uzo, congratulations. I don't have a question, just kudos to you. We've been in each other's corner as we journey through the DNP education. So I am in tears and with elation for you. So I'm so happy. Congratulations, Dr. Uzo Nwankpa.
Yay. Jessica, you have your hands up?
I do. Uzo, first off, I don't think I've ever heard you speak with such joy and passion in your voice. It was a beautiful thing to witness. I wanted to ask you, expressive arts is so huge in pediatrics because in pediatrics, children don't have the voice. They don't have the words to put into how they feel. So oftentimes they use expressive arts to do that. Could this be expanded to include children of color?
Absolutely. We learn so much from them, don't we? We learn that they, you know, with children, they teach us that they don't ask for permission to be expressive. You know, they're the leaders in that way. So absolutely, yes. Expressive arts is for everybody. We all are expressive beings. It is, you know, it's a human right. And often oppressive societies and situations prevent that from happening. So it's the time to remember and revitalize it and revive it, rejuvenate it. So yes, Jessica. Thank you.
I don't have a question. Hi, this is Dr. Daktari. I just would like to second that emotion. I'm in tears watching you smile, and you are truly glowing. And it's just an honor to watch you throughout this entire process. And this is like global, like you literally had people tuning in from all over the world. And I haven't been exposed to a dissertation like this before, where you literally have people in West Africa, you literally have people in the East Coast, you got people in DC, you got people in the Bay. Like this is like on a global scale. So I'm immensely proud of you, and I can't wait to see you continue to disseminate this work worldwide. And like she said, to the babies as well, you know. So this is exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Daktari.
Mhm.
Wow.
Good morning. It's your friend Kim Scott. And, you know, Uzo, thank you for this work that is so needed. Being someone who is working in trauma-informed care and working with healthcare providers that each day have experienced abuse and really not having an outlet or a community to heal. And thank you so much for this. I can't wait to engage and experience this, but this is needed work. It is essential work. And thank you for providing a space for healing.
I see Renee. Renee, hi. It's been a long time. Have a unmute and ask your question. Unmute and ask your question. Renee, do you have a question? You have to unmute. Did it?
Oh, there he goes. Yeah. Uzo, this was just like everyone said, you know, I have tears in my eyes. I'm just so proud of you in so many ways, and just consider that you are a friend and a colleague too. But what I'd like to say, do you remember how I first met you, how I was first introduced to you? I'll share it. The way that I was surfing the web, and somehow I came across some page of this woman that was dancing and reading poetry. And I'd really, Uzo, you might tell people how to get that link. But that's how I was introduced to you first. And I thought, oh my God, she is so amazing. Yeah. And then to find out that you were working at Samuel Merritt, it's like, what? I want to meet this woman. So I'm just, you know, my research work is around structural racism. And I see a lot of, as I look at theory of all kinds of different theories, you know, intersectionality, critical race theory, just you're among the greats. This is definitely a wonderful theory to bring to African people that are doing healthcare. I mean, it was fabulous, just absolutely fabulous. And thank you. My mood is lifted today, this moment, for sure. Thank you and love you.
Thank you, Renee. And we have one last question from Jabari. Oh, we can't hear you.
Right, there we go. Sorry
There we
about
go.
that. I just, no real question. I just want to say just how happy I am to see you in this moment on your journey. It's truly incredible. Thank you so much for the work that you do. I'm very excited to see what comes next. And most of all, congratulations. Very happy for you.
And with that, I think we're at the end of time. Is that correct, Mary?
I see one more person who has joined us that I would like to come off mute to have her say something. Dr. Van,
Yes.
I see you there. You were the mentor and beginning preceptor and wonderful chair who helped us to bring Uzo forward.
Good morning. Or is it? Yes, still morning. Good morning, everyone. And Uzo, I'm just in a place where my spirit has been lifted high. I have so much hope, not only for nursing and all of those of African descent, but all of us who are human.
Mm-hmm.
And you have changed the way that we can care for ourselves. You have legitimized the way that we can care for ourselves. And I hope and pray. Now, Uzo, you can't cry with me. I hope and pray, and I will do whatever I can, bring you back on my show to bring this worldwide even more. I'm sorry I can't come on camera. I have vertigo today. So, but I love you, Uzo. I love what you're doing for the world. And God bless and keep you. And thank you, Dr. Wyckoff, for calling on me to just share my words. Thank you.
I see we have one more hand. Do we have time, Mary?
Yes.
Okay, Nana Ama?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for taking me. I know it was you cut off the hand raising, but I'm glad that you allowed me to speak. My camera is off because I'm nursing right now.
Oh.
Thank you, Uzo. This was beautiful. Thank you for your work. This is so needed for us, by us. I am so happy that you have the vision to create this space for us. This is what we need to heal.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we need to uplift and express passion for ourselves. And be able to contribute to our community beautifully and to the rest of the world. We need you. And my question is, how do you envision implementing this on a global scale, for us to be able to speak to be able to speak to the hearts of Black people and people of African descent, because this is what we need. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Nana. Oh my gosh, y'all. My plan is to just keep the ball rolling. It's like slow and steady, right? Just one little group at a time, and hopefully it will spread. My goal is to train people on how to use this richer model. Healthcare providers, children, anybody who can facilitate a healing space in the community can learn this process, and they can do it. So it's not just for nurses, it's for anybody who wants to learn how to facilitate a healing space using African-centered expressive arts.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
I do see one more hand.
It's mine.
Mutima.
Yes. I just want to say that this work, I think, is a healing balm for people who don't trust the medical system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And I also just want to say that I see it working across the board. And thank you for centering people of Blackness, but we are one people and this will work for everybody. So thank you. You're a genius. Love you.
Mary, how are we doing on time?
One more, do we have another hand? Yes, one
We
more
do.
hand.
We do. One more, and this will be the last one. So Victorious California Consulting. I don't know what your name is. You get the last word.
Last word is I'm just wanting to invite Uzo to West Africa. I'm based here in Ghana, and we would love to bring her out to share this medicine with the youth, with our community here in Ghana. So keep up the work. We're just so inspired and honored to have you in your midst. And we will have to check in and tap in more about how we can bring this medicine from the West Coast of America to the West Coast of Africa and beyond. So it's just been an honor and a pleasure to witness your presentation today and to work alongside you over the years and healing space and learning from you. And we can't wait to have you here in Ghana to share this work and globally and internationally. So keep up the phenomenal work. And thank you so much for inviting me today.
Thank you. And with that, I would like to introduce Dr. Uzo Nwankpa. Yay! Absolutely, absolutely phenomenal.
Let's go, Dr. Uzo. Let's get it.
Dr. Uzo! I want to thank her mother and her family for loving her enough to let her do her thing.
You know it. Yes, we would not be here without our families. Okay, Mary, it's your show.